Good evening and welcome to NewsNight. Tonight we'll have all your international, national, and local news. I'm Katherine Graysinger.
And I'm Anthony Durzo. The United States has seen many political changes recently. Our reporters are here to give you all the need-to-know details on what updates and announcements have been made in our nation's capital this past week.
Plus, we will have updates on all the recent events taking place on Point Park University's campus.
All this and more coming up on NewsNight.
This week marks the start of the holy month of Ramadan, a sacred time observed by Muslims all around the world. This is a time characterized by increased worship, charity, and good deeds, and it's also a time of fasting, one of the 5 pillars of Islam, where observing Muslims fast from dawn until sunset, breaking fast together each night at a meal called iftar. Ramadan is celebrated during the 9th month of the Islamic calendar year, beginning with a sighting of a crescent moon. Officials in Saudi Arabia, which is home to many Islamic holy sites, spotted the crescent moon on Sunday evening, marking the official start of Ramadan for many countries around the world. However, some countries started Ramadan as late as Tuesday, waiting for a sighting. The month of Ramadan then concludes at the start of a new moon sighting, signaling a new month. The end of Ramadan is celebrated in a 3-day celebration, marking the start of the holiday Eid al-Fitr. While in recent years many mosques still prefer to follow the local sighting method using only the naked eye, a tradition that over 1,400 years old, some Muslims have begun to rely on astronomical data to mark the start of Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr in advance. Co-founder of the Eid Committee of New Jersey, Khatib, says that the shift to a global scientific method has made it easier for planning their Eid al-Fitr celebrations, in which nearly 8,000 people come together in prayer to celebrate the festival of breaking the fast, end quote. It was becoming difficult to organize and make arrangements for prayer if you have to book a hall. Some had to be booked for 2 days because they didn't know what day it would be. Some were finding out at midnight, waiting for hours at night for moon sighting. People have to take off work, end quote. While the celebration of Ramadan is underway, many gatherings are fearful of the unrest that may spark during this peaceful time due to the Israel-Hamas war in the Gaza Strip, as an overwhelming majority of Palestinian citizens are practicing Muslims. Saudi King Salman issued a public statement saying, quote, "As it pains us that the month of Ramadan falls this year, in light of the attacks our brothers in Palestine are suffering from, we stress the need for the international community to assume its responsibilities to stop these brutal crimes and provide safe humanitarian relief corridors," end quote. Ramadan is predicted to end this year on April 9th.
6 people were found dead at a home in the Ottawa suburb of Barrhaven last Wednesday evening, and officials are calling this a mass killing. According to a local news source, CTV News Ottawa, police received multiple 911 calls to a 2-story townhouse along Berrigan Drive for reports of a man screaming for help. Upon entering the home, police say they found 6 victims killed by what officials described as an edged weapon. Police confirmed that one of the 2 adults killed was the mother of the 4 children who all lost their lives as well in this attack, the youngest of the children being less than just 3 months old. The second adult has been identified as a family acquaintance who had also been living in the home at the time of the murder. The father of the children was also injured in this attack and was taken to the hospital in serious but stable condition, according to BBC News. BBC also confirmed that the suspect, 19-year-old Fabreo de Zoiza, was arrested on scene without incident. He is being charged with 6 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted homicide. Police believe he was in Ottawa as a student. The Global News reported that the Ottawa police chief confirmed that de Zoiza was also living with the victims. The motive behind these killings have yet to be disclosed. Ottawa Mayor Mark Sutcliffe took to X, formerly known as Twitter, once news broke of this tragedy, saying, quote, "I was devastated to learn of the multiple homicide in Barrhaven, one of the most shocking incidents of violence in our city's history," end quote. This statement concluded with, quote, "Thank you to our emergency responders who are investigating and supporting those who are affected by this terrible event," end quote. After over 2 years since they first submitted their membership application, Sweden is officially made member of an intergovernmental alliance. Reporter Loger Abdis is here with the story. Loger.
In an unprecedented move last Thursday, Sweden officially joined the NATO alliance. The long-standing neutrality of the nation came to an end after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, when Sweden quickly applied for membership. Now, after more than 2 years, that membership has finally been approved. Nicholas Aylott, a political scientist at Södertörn University and the Swedish Institute of International Affairs, said that, quote, Swedes were horrified by Russia's actions. They saw their elites rapidly change position on NATO, and they went along with it, end quote. A major holdup in the application process came from both Hungary and Turkey, who initially withheld their votes. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban accused Sweden of being hostile towards Hungary, while Turkey argued against what it called Sweden's support of Kurdish separatists. Many Swedes support the decision to join NATO as well. Christina McConnell, a former military worker and current law practitioner, stated, quote, I think it's great actually. It feels safe and about time, end quote. For now, Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson said that, quote, unity and solidarity will be the country's guiding lights. Good things come to those who wait, said Prime Minister Kristersson. Swedes realized something very profound. If Putin was willing to try and erase one neighbor from the map, then he might well not stop there, end quote.
More than 300 school children and women have been abducted in various parts of Nigeria. Groups of armed gunmen kidnapped 300 children from Kuriga, Kaduna State, with at least 100 of the victims being under the age of 12. In total, 3 instances of kidnapping happened during the week, with 15 children abducted in Sokoto and 200 women and children near Borno State. This violence and abduction have only worsened throughout the years, and now no specific group has claimed to be responsible, and the search continues. A political figure in the nation of Honduras faces severe charges. Reporter Leslie Krebs has the story. Leslie?
Former President of Honduras and President of Honduran National Congress, Juan Orlando Hernandez, has been convicted of multiple weapon offenses and cocaine importation into the United States. While in Congress, Hernandez facilitated the importation of cocaine from Honduras from 2004 up until 2022, managing to smuggle more than 400 tons into the U.S. while serving his position in the Honduran government. He has been officially convicted on 3 counts, 1 being conspiring to import cocaine into the United States, 2 being conspiring to use and carry machine guns during the cocaine conspiring, and 3 being using and carrying machine guns and destructive devices during the cocaine conspiring. Hernandez worked in one of the largest and most dangerous drug trafficking conspiracies in the world. For his work, he received millions of dollars in drug money from Honduras and Mexico, as well as other countries that aided in his rise and maintaining political power. He also used the aid of heavily armed Honduran police to guard cocaine loads and aided in committing extreme violence and murder to protect their operation and rivals. During his time in power, he even promoted anti-narcotic legislation. Administrator Ann Milgram of the Drug Enforcement Administration, regarding Hernandez's conviction, stated, quote, when the leader of Honduras and the leader of the Sinaloa cartel work hand in hand to send deadly drugs into American communities, both deserve to be held accountable in the United States. This case should send a clear message that no one is above the law or beyond our reach, end quote.
Australia's Great Barrier Reef has been confirmed to have suffered another mass bleaching event. This event marks the 3rd mass bleaching event since 2020. Coral bleaching, which occurs as a result of ocean temperatures, poses a major threat to the overall health of the organisms. Although bleaching does not kill the coral, if conditions do not change, the consequences of this event could be much worse. Chief Scientist Roger Beeden said, quote, it's too early to say what the full consequences of this event are, but if the conditions cool, we could see a lot of what's bleached recover, end quote. Coming up, Miami Beach is ending its relationship, literally, with its spring break traditions. Find out more about what changes are being made and how they could affect your future traveling plans.
Last week, President Biden delivered his third State of the Union of his presidency. The State of the Union was an important one for Biden, as it was also the last State of the Union of his first term as president. Going into the speech before Republican-led Congress, Biden had only a 37% approval rating, which is lower than his last four predecessors saw in January of their own re-election terms. Although Trump was never mentioned by name, Biden mentioned his, quote, predecessor 13 times throughout his address to Congress. The former president and likely Republican candidate has different stances on many of the topics discussed throughout the session, which lasted over an hour, so it's no surprise Biden used his time to highlight their contrasting views. One of those differing opinions is their stance on abortion, criticizing the overturn of Roe v. Wade in 2022 and the effects it has on reproductive rights. President Biden said in his address, quote, "When reproductive freedom was on the ballot, we won in 2022 and 2023, and will win again in 2024. If you, the American people, send me a Congress that supports the right to choose, I promise you I will restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again," end quote. This wasn't the only criticism Biden had of the previous administration. He also directly confronted the crowd about the January 6th insurrection events and admonished them, citing the importance of protecting democracy and the failure of that in the previous administration. Biden urged Congress to pass the bipartisan border security bill after the recent death of Laken Riley caused debate once again on this issue. He also touched on foreign policy, discussing his stance on NATO, our overdependence on China, and our relationship with Russia, calling for Congress to unblock Ukraine. He also addressed the Israel-Hamas crisis. Biden has received backlash for his views in the past, so he took a much more nonpartisan standpoint. He said that Israel does have a right to Hamas, but that Israel also has a fundamental responsibility to protect innocent civilians in Gaza. Biden also highlighted the revival of the U.S. economy under his administration after inheriting it from the COVID-19 pandemic. He said his policies made the U.S. economy, quote, literally the envy of the world, 15 million new jobs in just 3 years, end quote. He also stressed the importance of everyone paying their fair share of taxes, especially corporations. The economy will be one of Biden's big focuses as he heads into the upcoming election. One of the most prominent exams for high school students is now facing major changes. Reporter Logar Abdus has the details on what these changes look like and how they will affect the future of standardized testing. Logar?
After nearly a century of paper and pencil tests, high school students last Saturday took a new, fully digital SAT exam. The College Board, the administrator of the test, believes the changes made reflect the evolving educational landscape after the COVID-19 pandemic. The new test will be shorter, clocking in at only 2 hours and 14 minutes compared to the previous 3 hours. Reading passages will be much shorter, and students will be allowed to use graphing calculators during the entire math portion of the exam. The College Board believes this new format will also benefit those with ADHD and dyslexia, as well as students learning English while remaining just as rigorous as the traditional paper exam. Jasly Carayol, Director of Communications, stated that on the digital exam, students were able to, quote, better maintain their focus, end quote. The changes have been positively received among students so far. With the paper test, especially because you're in a quiet room with the clock ticking up there silently, it definitely brings in the sense of an exam, said high school junior Ashley Chavez Cruz. With this digital SAT, I still knew it was an exam, but in my mind, I was less anxious, end quote. For now, the College Board hopes the new exam will continue to prepare students for college and life beyond. Quote, we had been hearing feedback from students and educators about what it's like to take the SAT and what it's like to give students the SAT, says Priscilla Rodriguez, Senior Vice President of College Readiness Assessments at the College Board. Quote, and some of the rigidity, stress, and the length of the test, we could only make those kinds of changes going digital, end quote.
Well, now that we have entered the month of March, the idea of spring break is on many people's minds. But Miami Beach says that they are breaking up with spring break. This year, new regulations will be in place to ensure the safety of all visitors and residents, and they are communicating this message through a new 1-minute advertisement saying that last year wasn't safe and it's time to move on.
We need to talk.
This isn't working anymore.
And it's not us, it's you. We just want different things.
Our idea of a good time is relaxing on the beach.
Hitting up the spa.
Or checking out a new restaurant.
You just want to get drunk in public and ignore laws.
Do you even remember what happened last March?
That was our breaking point, so we're breaking up with you.
And don't try to apologize and come crawling back. This isn't safe, so we're done.
And just so you know, we're serious.
This March, you can expect things like curfews, bag checks, and restricted beach access.
DUI checkpoints, $100 parking, and strong police enforcement.
Now, this campaign is the Florida government's latest effort to prevent violence, public intoxication, drug usage, and chaos. Miami Beach Police Department reported that in March of last year, 488 arrests were made, 105 firearms were confiscated, and over 7,000 traffic citations were issued. Miami Beach officials also were forced to declare a state of emergency last year after 2 fatal shootings, along with out-of-control crowds. Now, if you are planning to take a trip down to Miami Beach on the weekends in March, you can also expect several parking garages to be closed, changes to traffic patterns, and license plate reader details. There will be no sidewalk seating along Ocean Drive during the weekends as well. In more State of the Union news, President Biden's address resulted in a re-election campaign announcement. Reporter Leslie Krebs is here with the details on which former representative made the announcement. Leslie.
Thanks, Anthony. Former Long Island Representative George Santos announced his campaign for re-election this past Thursday after President Biden's State of the Union address. Santos made the announcement that he was seeking re-election in the House of Representatives on the social media platform X, with a statement saying, quote, "Tonight I want to announce that I will be returning to the arena of politics and challenging Nick for the battle over hashtag NY1, end quote. Santos had previously stated that he wouldn't run again and decided to challenge his opponent, Nick LaLota. In reaction to Santos's campaign announcement, LaLota stated, quote, "I suspect this primary challenge from Santos is retaliation for that, but we're taking it seriously. I think we're going to run on a record of accountability, integrity, honor, and providing a higher bar here in Congress to ensure that members who conduct themselves, regardless of what party they're from, they do so with integrity," end quote. Santos will be campaigning for New York's 1st congressional district, a different district instead of the one he previously represented. Santos is still currently facing 23 federal charges ever since being evicted from Congress this past December. Those charges are using campaign money on designer clothing from Hermes, Sephora, and OnlyFans. Other charges include receiving undeserved employment benefits and lying about his wealth. Santos pleaded not guilty and is still facing trial later this year in September.
This past Monday, President Biden revealed his proposed $7.3 billion budget for the 2025 year. The proposal includes major tax increases for corporations and billionaires and a move that would increase tax revenue by $4.9 trillion over the next decade. The budget also includes $900 billion in defense spending. House Speaker Mike Johnson, along with other Republican leaders, called the budget in a statement, quote, "a roadmap to accelerate America's decline," end quote. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, on the other hand, viewed the bill as optimistic and said, quote, "President Biden's budget will ensure we make good on the investments we made to rebuild America," end quote. Due to the Republican majority in the House of Representatives, the bill is incredibly unlikely to be approved. However, the budget does act as a strong vision for Biden's bid for a second term. A Florida lawsuit reaches a settlement agreement. Reporter Aaron Ute has the details. Aaron?
This past Monday, the state of Florida and plaintiffs who challenged the parental rights law, also known as the, quote, "Don't Say Gay bill, that prohibits the instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity instruction in kindergarten through 8th grade, have agreed to a settlement. The plaintiffs included a group of students, parents, educators, and LGBTQ advocacy organizations, and blamed the law, which was signed by Governor Ron DeSantis in 2022, for causing, quote, "confusion and fear in public schools." The agreement reached on Monday says that students and teachers are allowed to openly talk about sexual identity and gender orientation as long as it is not part of formal classroom instruction. The settlement also states that the law does not restrict, quote, "literary references to a gay or transgender person or same-sex couple," end quote. The law also allows parents to sue school districts for any perceived violations. Additionally, the lawsuit clarified that the law does not prohibit lessons on bullying, does not require the removal of safe spaces for LGBTQ youth, and that student expression in the form of clubs, book fairs, musicals, plays, and clothing are allowed. The law does not apply to school library books as long as they are not being used for instruction.
An old lake in Central California has miraculously reappeared after 40 years. Tulare Lake, located in California's Central Valley, has been filled with rainwater after California was pummeled with rainstorms. This has caused a lot of farmland, which is crucial to the area, to be destroyed, as well as civilians' properties. Unfortunately, the weather is supposed to continue on this downward trend, with the lake having the possibility of remaining active for many years to come. When we return, the end of an era for Pittsburgh Penguins and Milkshake Factory fans. Plus, we will have all the details on recent Point Park campus events, as well as a status update on a terminated university professor. Don't go anywhere.
It's a tough crowd.
Last Friday, Point Park held its annual multicultural festival in the Lawrence Hall lobby in a celebration of cultures from around the world. This fair was put on by the Student Government Association and the Inclusive Student Leadership Association, with members from groups on campus like Shalom, Latinx, and the Black Student Union in attendance at stations, with activities and food designed to represent their different cultures from around the world. One popular table at the fair belonged to local henna artist Kadambari, who has been a part of Point Park's cultural fair for many years. Although she's worked across the globe, she said she enjoys spreading the Indian tradition at community days around Pittsburgh. And with 29 years of henna under her belt, it's no wonder the worldwide artist was a hit at this year's fair. Students were also given a tour through Polynesia thanks to traditional performers from Toika's Polynesian Island Magic. The dancers performed traditional dances from different islands in the region while teaching the significance of the various styles of dance, sayings, and traditional costumes that make each region unique. Students in attendance were also able to follow along and learn a few dances, including a special hula dance for the women in honor of International Women's Day, which was the same day as the event. The night ended in a celebration of Mexican heritage, with the members of the Latinx community sharing various dances from their own culture. Plans for next year's fair are already underway, with plans to grow the event by including more communities on campus. Make sure to check Point Sync and follow the SGA Instagram page for more information on next year's event.
Last week, the Pittsburgh Penguins said goodbye to one of their most valuable players on the ice, number 59, Jake Guentzel. The 29-year-old left winger was traded to the Carolina Hurricanes along with Ty Smith, and in return, the Penguins received a list of new players plus a first-round and fifth-round draft pick for 2024. Guentzel was chosen by the Penguins in 2013 and made his NHL debut in November of 2016, where he scored 2 goals in his very first game against the New York Rangers. The rookie at the time also helped lead the team to their 5th Stanley Cup championship in 2017. During his time with the Penguins, Guentzel scored 219 goals with 247 assists. He also partnered with the locally owned Milkshake Factory to create the fan-favorite treat that they called the Jake Shake. The Milkshake Factory offered this fudgy drink to their customers at a half-price rate the day after Guentzel scored a goal. Once news broke that Guentzel would no longer be a Penguin, the Milkshake Factory offered their customers one more opportunity to enjoy a Jake Shake for half off. Well, the line was out the door at their downtown location in the PNC Tower along 5th Avenue. This is where they held a retirement ceremony for the Jake Shake. A black and gold Jake Shake jersey was raised and hung on the wall behind the counter as a celebration of Guentzel's time in Pittsburgh. The first 50 people in line also received a free Jake Shake t-shirt. The Milkshake Factory says now that Gensel is no longer with the Penguins, they will still keep the ingredients of the Jake Shake, but will simply call it Cookie Brownie Fudge. Jake Gensel will certainly be missed by Pittsburgh, no doubt about it.
A Pittsburgh local has been severely injured while riding the Monongahela Incline. Denny Peering, Mount Washington native, states that he was riding to the top of the hill on Tuesday afternoon when the incident occurred. Peering said that a 4 to 5 inch gap between the car and his wheelchair caused him to get stuck. Supposedly, 2 transit employees just stood by while his aides struggled to get him out, causing him to cut his arm on the door. Regardless, Peering stated he is hopeful for the incline to reopen soon, as it has been shut down ever since the incident. Tax dollars and revenue shortages are not easily digestible concepts, but our reporter Aaron Ute is here with a breakdown of the city of Pittsburgh's state of spending. Aaron?
Pittsburgh City Controller Rachel Heisler said that the city is facing a revenue shortage of about $10 million. Last Thursday, Heisler sat down with reporters from KDKA and WTAE to discuss the states of the city's spending. Heisler said that several property assessment appeals by some of the largest businesses downtown are the reason, as these appeals are landing in favor of business owners, causing the city to not collect tax revenue. Downtown currently makes up 25% of the city's taxable real estate, bringing in about $30 million a year. Heisler says that the city is getting half this number and that it has already been spent $1.8 million in tax refunds, along with plans to add more. Higher courts have also ruled against the city's longtime sports facility usage fee that charges athletes and performers a fee to perform in Pittsburgh. Over the past 20 years, the city has made about $70 million from this tax and plans to refund large part of this sum. City Councilman Bobby Wilson also proposed a tax credit and other incentives for developers who plan to turn empty office spaces downtown into affordable housing.
Point Park University has terminated an assistant professor after his arrest on multiple charges, including strangulation. The incident, which occurred on February 14th, led to a quick response from the university. Although some charges have been dropped, the case continues with significant allegations, including simple assault on a minor under 12, the accused victim being his 6-year-old daughter. The professor, now out on non-monetary bail, is set to face a formal arraignment on April 17th. And in other Point Park news, this past Friday, Point Park held its 2024 TEDx event, with this year's theme being renewal. The event was held in the Pittsburgh Playhouse, and 6 speakers spoke on a range of topics connecting to the theme, including adjunct professor D.T. Burns, who spoke about what he learned from working with birds. Reporter Ethan Rowinski spoke with him after his TED Talk to hear his thoughts on the other speakers and the event.
Building from renewal on a personal scale up to a national one. Even just having the speaker before me talk about the importance of breath and voice was inspiring to me as a speaker, sharing my stories, and then hearing those same elements of social care echoed in the ones further on. It really felt like a conversation worth having.
If you missed out on watching the event, don't worry, the talks were recorded, and all of them will be available on the TEDx YouTube channel in the coming weeks. Don't go anywhere, because when we return, we will have your local Pittsburgh weather update, plus hear about how the act of kindness from one stranger turned into a community working together to make a difference. Stay tuned.
A small town in Arkansas shares one big heart as they all chip in to help out a local friend. Bill Majalewski is legally blind and walks 5 miles each day to the local Walmart, where he is the night shift janitor. Rain or shine, and no matter what temperature, Bill makes his 2-hour commute each day. One day, local resident of Cabot, Arkansas, Christy Conrad, noticed Bill walking and offered him a ride. From there, her determination began. Conrad created a Facebook page called Mr. Bill's Village in hopes of recruiting other local residents to look out for Bill and offer him a lift. The group exploded with popularity and now consists of over 1,000 people. Each night, someone stops Bill on his walk and offers him a ride. The rest of the way to his destination, Conrad wrote on Facebook page, quote, "I hope if anyone takes anything from this, it would be use the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated," end quote. Now everyone keeps an eye out for Bill to make sure he makes it to work safely. It really does take a village. These last few weeks have seen temperatures all over the board, but with spring just around the corner, we might finally be able to hang up our winter coats for good. Additionally, with St. Patrick's Day approaching, our weather reporter Alex Danheiser is here to update you on how you should prepare for the festivities of the weekend. Take it away, Alex.
Thanks, Catherine. From warm sunny days to chilling rain, Pittsburgh has seen it all in the recent weeks. As for today, temperatures are getting fairly close to the March record of 78 degrees that was set in 1990. The forecast suggests it's going to reach 73 degrees out with plenty of sunshine. This is the perfect day to spend some time outdoors getting your vitamin D, as there will be some patches of cloud cover but a 0% chance of rain. Overnight, the temperatures are expected to drop to the mid-40s range, with more dense cloud coverage until morning. Now let's take a look at the rest of the week. As we roll into the holiday weekend, Friday will be cloudy with some rain showers and with cooler temperatures in the low 60s. However, Saturday will see the luck of the Irish at the end of the rainbow just in time for Pittsburgh's annual St. Patrick's Day Parade beginning at 10 a.m. Temperatures are expected to remain in the low 60s, and there will be plenty of sunshine throughout the day. The beginning of next week will see temperatures drop once more into the high 30s and low 40s with rain showers and possibly snow flurries seen throughout the week. That's all I have for this week. Now let's send it back to the desk.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of NewsNight. If you want to see more, check out our social media pages on both Facebook and Instagram at UView Television.
You can also check out more episodes on our YouTube channel or website, uview.pointpark.edu. I'm Anthony Durzo.
And I'm Katherine Greisinger. From everyone here at NewsNight, thank you for watching and have a great evening.